Myself, okay, SK Gupta, and I will be taking your this course, Basic Electronics, for this semester, ECA group. There are two groups, as you know, ECA and ECB, okay. So other faculties there in ECB, but almost the contents will remain same, okay. These are the contents which will be covered during the course, okay. So mainly we have 5 units here. So unit 1 is about transport phenomena in semiconductors. We will try to first look at what is semiconductor. Almost all of you may be knowing about the semiconductors by now, because now the course curriculum is so designed in class 12 also, that basics of semiconductor is there, okay. But we will try to review those concepts, okay, again here, so that we have a okay, some more uh, know about these semiconductors, which may be useful in understanding better the uh, devices based on the semiconductors. So as you can see, okay, so after the semiconductors basics, we will look at the first device, diodes, okay, and some applications of the diodes will be seen, just like rectifiers is there, okay, very basic but useful application of the diode is as a rectifier. There are numerous of the applications of diodes, but we will be able to see only few here. Then how we can use the diodes as a power supply. Then there is something called as clampers, clippers, then voltage multipliers. So few applications we will try to look at. After that, there are some specially designed diodes for certain applications, like Zener diodes here, that will be covered in more detail. Apart from these diodes listed over here, there are many other diodes, okay, just like uh, there are some diodes which can give you variable capacitors kind of thing, which is also quite useful, or some specially designed diodes like Schottky diodes are there, okay. So there are different types of diodes. Also we may see few basics of these other diodes as well, which are not listed here, if the time permits, okay. After that, uh, one more application which is to be covered over here is transistors. These are the actually the old transistor, which is having use of two junctions here, okay, PN junctions kind of thing. PN diode, which is there, actually this is also called as PN junction. So this is a actually diode is nothing but a single PN junction, whereas the transistor over here, which we will try to understand, is going to have two PN junctions, okay. So these are widely called as bipolar junction transistors, okay, bipolar junction transistors. So that we will try to look at. Its characteristics will be seen, then some of the important parameters we will look at, then we will see some application of this transistor as an amplifier. Actually we should be aware that transistor is the device which is the building block of the integrated circuits of course. Nowadays, actually, transistors, these BJTs, they are being replaced by something called as MOSFETs. Okay, metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistors. But the BJTs, the bipolar junction transistors, okay, the transistors which we will try to look at here first. They also play important role in designing the integrated circuit. Sometimes for certain regions, we also use the BJTs along with MOSFETs. Okay, so we will try to look at here the basics of these BJTs. Then there are the advanced version of the transistors called as JFETs and MOSFETs. Okay, JFET is junction field effect transistor and MOSFET is metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. So we will try to look at how, what are the construction of these, how they do work, what are their characteristics, their important parameters, and of course some applications of this also. Okay, we will try to see. So apart from these applications here, of course here we just see that diodes we will discuss first, and then applications of this. We will try to look at also to designing aspects of the circuits also. Okay, we will try to visualize that also. If suppose we are given to design a certain circuit based on some certain application here, using the diodes or transistors, these transistors we mean by the BJTs or the MOSFETs, then what are the steps which we can follow to design certain one can say standard circuits. Not all circuits we can design using that method, but some standard circuits may be designed. Then unit 4 is going to talk about a class of amplifiers. Okay, amplifier is something which can amplify, okay, or increase the strength of a signal, we can say in normal sense. So there is some circuitry there. If we give some input, then we get some stronger output, say, okay, for a weaker input. So that is the use of amplifier, and these are a special class of amplifiers here which we will try to discuss over here, so called as operational amplifiers. Operational amplifiers are also in short called as op-amp. OP stands for operational and AMP stands for amplifiers. So these are the class of amplifiers which will be able to perform certain operations also along with amplification. Amplification is the basic one can say characteristic of these class of circuits, but they can also perform certain operations. Okay, so that is what makes it special. Okay, certain operations. So what these operations are? These operations are not limited to single but multiple here. Add, like adding two signals, subtracting two signals, differentiating, integrating a given signal, multiplying two signals. Something called as unity gain amplifier is also there. Unity gain means the amplification is 1. Okay, so there is no increment in the strength of the signal here, but what we can see is that input and output both are on the same amount. So this is again a kind of amplifier, but rather we again call it as amplifier, even though the gain we can say is going to be unity. Gain is a factor, okay, defined as output upon input, okay. So it is unity for these kind of amplifiers. So these amplifiers actually find application as something called as buffer. We will see what we mean by these buffer and what is the utility of this. Then some more complex operations can also be done using these amplifiers, like taking logarithm, anti-logarithm. Then also we can actually do division, of course. Different several operations can be done using these. Even we can solve, say, differential equations using these operation amplifiers. So differential equations can also be solved. So we can see that a complex number of solutions can be obtained using these class of amplifiers. And in olden okay, uh, if few years ago, uh, we were mostly relying on this kind of amplifications, amplifiers here for computation purpose. And the computations was called analog computing, okay. So these have important roles even now for say analog signal processing kind of thing, okay. So analog signal means like we have some realistic signal and we can directly do the operations on that uh, signal without converting it into another form, rather like digital format or other form. So that is the utility of this operational amplifiers. Last unit is going to talk about these digital electronics here. So this is a little different one. So is units 1 to 4 we can see they talk about this electronics part, analog electronic kind of thing, whereas the last unit 5 here that talks about digital electronics here, and mostly these are going to discuss about various types of logic gates and then their representations, and then some ways of implementations. So that we'll talk about that thing, okay. So this is a different one. This doesn't talk about uh, this is rather logical here, but in this discussion also we will try to look at how we can implement actually. When we are talking about electronics here, we are not only limited to the logic part, but we also here bother about implementation part, implementation in hardware, okay. So some logic is there, how we can implement that into hardware, means using, say, these diodes or transistors, how we can realize these logics. So few discussions will also be based on these aspects over here. So in this way, we have total 5 units over here. The reference books, as you can see, the first 2 reference books they will deal for with units 1 to 4 here, whereas the last two books here, the reference book, there are multiple other books also, but the reference books which we will try to follow are these one. For unit 5 last unit, we may follow the last two reference books here. So far here just we saw the overview of the course here, which we will try to look at. It depends on us from where we should start, because we are going to be electronics background. So it is recommended to start with unit 1 here, but sometimes people may start also from unit 5 here, okay, because that is a little easier to understand. But here we will start from unit 1 and we will try to cover unit 1, 2 and 3, say before mid-semester examinations, okay, and unit 4 and 5 we will try to cover after the mid-semester examinations. So this will be the kind of thing which we will try to look at. So unit 1, 2, 3 till mid-sem exam, or whatever we are able to cover, and unit 4 and 5 after mid-sem exam. So this is what we are going to have during the semester. And in between, we may also have certain interactions like tutorial classes or others, where you may also interact with your queries. When you go along the course, you may find some difficulty also, that you may discuss in the tutorial classes. Also some numerical problems and other things may be tackled over the year in the tutorial classes as well. So mainly in our classes, we will be limited to lectures, and if there is any confusion, any doubt, you can stop me, okay, and we can discuss about those objections and then move ahead. So in during the course, we may have say a few assignments also, so that you are engaged in doing and learning the course. Learning is very important here, okay. So of course nowadays actually the classes are going online, everything is online, so you may be tempted that assignments, if you are getting, you can say share with each other. So that is not a good practice. First, we should try to do the assignments on our own, because it is going to build our concepts. It is not only about the passing of the course, it is also about the learning. Okay, so we should insist in learning something rather than just try to pass the course. Okay, so that should be the motive here. So assignments, if you get something, so try to do yourself, okay, of course, and there are tutorials we can discuss in that tutorial classes, these assignments also. Then to assess you, there may be some quiz, okay, so quiz may be there. So these are the methods which we will try to have for assessment here. If there is any doubt, you can ask, else we can move ahead.
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, good morning, sir. Sir, we should do that digital electronics along with chapter unit 1 to 4.
Together.
Along with this, sir, you recommended that now we should do the digital electronics or the
No, no,
unit
no.
1.
Actually, people sometimes start with fifth, okay, and then go 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. What I was saying that people sometimes start with fifth unit first, then they take 1, 2, 3, and 4. But here we will be going from in the serial as it is given 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 like this. So something already we have discussed about thing. Actually, this is starting with diodes here. It should be semiconductors rather. So we will try to look at first the basics of the semiconductors, okay, and then we will come to the diodes. Okay, so these are some basic questions. What is electronics engineering? So that is, I think all of us are aware. Okay, so may be skipped here. Electronics nothing but it is the mechanics of electrons. Okay, so we are going to look at the electronics and then the electronic devices also. So where these are electronic gadgets or electronic things are used here, there are several uses as you can see for rectification, which we will also try to look at in this course. Then amplification, then automatic control, and generation of some logics and other things. Okay, and also conversion of light into electricity and vice versa. Okay, so there are many applications of electronics here. It is used in communications. Okay, so all of us are using these in our daily life. Okay, so few are actually gone almost, telegraph kind of thing. Okay, but and all the telephone is also on the verge of the okay extension, telefax. So these things are almost going away. We are now coming into this wireless design where we are relying on mobile phones, okay, radio broadcasting, TV broadcasting, satellite communication. Okay, so everything is going now wireless, I think. Okay, and wired thing is almost going away. So in entertainment, in defense, okay, so there are several applications of these electronics we will find everywhere. Okay, that's why this electronic subject is going to be very very important. Okay, and even now nowadays actually if you see the central government, they are also focusing on this electronics kind of thing. You might have heard nowadays that there is some scarcity of the something called as chips. Okay, because of that, even different sectors like automobile sector, that is also going affected. Even the electronic gadgets like laptops and other things. Okay, they are becoming we can see costlier as compared to the earlier one. So these are happening because of the shortage of chips. Okay, so what these chips are? These chips are nothing but something called as integrated circuits. Okay, so integrated circuits which are implemented on silicon. So these integrated circuits are nothing but some connections of the transistors inside it in some way to do some dedicated job. Okay, so we can see that we also like, okay, some gadgets that automatically many things should happen in every sector, like in automobiles, or even we want that our AC should be on before going, or say uh, internet of things kind of IoTs. Many things you can actually think of. Everywhere wherever you see there is some kind of processing, there is some kind of control seated, there is um, uh, we will find the application of electronics. Okay, so electronics has very wide application, and the central government is also focusing on this by installing or by having some kind of manufacturing units which we call as uh, fabrication. Okay, fabrication houses. Okay, so there is something called as fabrication houses are needed to manufacture these integrated circuits, or so-called chips, which has inside it the diodes, the transistors, the MOSFETs connected together to do all these different jobs. Okay, so government is now focusing. So far, actually, in our India, we are having only one fabrication unit, dedicated fabrication unit called as Semiconductor uh, Limited. Okay, Chandigarh. SCL. Okay, so this is the only dedicated fabrication house we have in our India, and that is also very old technology. Uh, so few fabrication houses you may be, some of you may be knowing about, like say Samsung, TSMC, Intel. Okay, so these are some other fabrication houses. AMD is also there. So uh, these are also there, but they are not able to cater the demand of the which be because we are using almost in every area this electronics kind of thing. That's why there has become the shortage of these integrated circuits or chips. Okay, so in our India, very soon we will also see some more fabrications houses, and that will open say more jobs for the electronic guys. So that's what we can think of. Okay, so few application areas here also listed: medical science, instrumentation. Okay, so these all are having uh, the basis. So we will try to look at the basis of these devices on which using which these complex integrated circuits are made. And first of all, we will try to look at using uh, the very basic building block, okay, which useful to make such devices. So uh, we we start here with atomic structure here. So mainly we are concerned about the atomic structure of uh, the semiconductor materials. Okay. So widely here, actually I don't have the slide. Widely we have three types of materials based on the conductivity. Okay. So first we can list as insulator. The second one we can call as semiconductors. And third one we can call as conductors. Okay. So insulator is that element which do not allow the electricity to conduct through it. So that is that much simple here. Conductor is that element which allows the current to flow through it, whereas semiconductor is something which is lying in between insulator and conductor. That is, in some suitable condition, it may act like insulator, whereas if we do some modification into this, okay, then it may start acting like a conductor. So we cannot classify the semiconductors either in the insulator or in the conductor, but it is in between. It is not perfectly insulator, neither it is perfectly conductor. But in certain conditions, the semiconductor materials, they start acting like as if they are conductors. So mainly we will be focused on the semiconductors here. So this is what the atomic structure we have. The core is there, then first band, energy band, then the second energy band, then third energy band. The multiple energy bands we can see here. So these energy bands are nothing but the electrons. We know that they prefer to stay in some regions around the nucleus, around the core, or around the center here. So these actually form the energy bands. So we have two energy bands actually. One is called as valence band and another is called as conduction band. Okay. So actually I can see here only very few people here. So we can today just look at the overview, and in the next lecture we can go into details of these. So if we see some material like silicon is having atomic number 14. If we look at the electronic configuration here, then 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, and then 3s2 and 3p2. I think it should be correct one. If we look at, if we see as at the electronic configuration of the silicon, atomic number 14, then it is going to have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p2. So these are the first two shells here. Okay, these are fully filled, and the third shell of which this subcell S and subcell P. Yeah, okay. So the first subshell, okay, the 3s, this is also filled. The P subshell, okay, that is partially filled here. So that's where we can see दो चार छः दस छः one to 10 14. Okay. So this gives us the interesting characteristics here. So when if we look at these atoms, okay, if we look at the atoms atomic label, then this is the configuration. And if they say the atoms are kept in isolation, okay, then these are the energy bands which will be valid. But if we put these atoms close enough, then what happens? There starts interaction in between these atoms, and these energy labels, okay, these states, okay, energy states 3s2, 3p2, whatever it is here, they do not remain as it is seen over here, but there is some dramatic change in the energy labels. And the dramatic change in the energy levels is so too much, so that there is creation of valence band and conduction band. I think I'm not that much clear here, but I'm trying my best to illustrate this. So if we look at these energy labels, then you will see in the spatial label, say this is say 1s2 here, and then 2s2 energy labels like this, 2p6, and then 3s2, and then 3p2, okay, above this. So these kind of energy levels will be there, and there are certain laws which we know from our physics course, that no two electrons can have the same quantum numbers, okay, and because of that there happens something called as splitting of energy labels if we keep the atoms closer to each other in that case. So due to the splitting of energy states, the energy states which seems to be here discrete in nature, that splits around this energy states, okay, by some plus minus. But the internal energy states, okay, which are fully filled, they do not actually are affected much, but the outermost electrons which are there, they are affected much. So the electrons in the 3s2 and 3p2, they are going to be affected much, and because of this complex interaction, there is formation of the valence band and conduction band. So if we look at the periodic table part, then the tetravalent, that is in the fourth group, having carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, and lead. These are the elements which mainly form the semiconductor. So these are having some special characteristics, and out of these, the main elements which we look at is silicon and germanium. The carbon is also getting used, but carbon, we know that this has many different forms in which they do exist in nature. So nowadays a form called as graphene, okay, that is finding getting more attention because of its good characteristics. But naturally the graphene is also not a semiconductor, because the energy gap, okay, energy band gap, which we will see in next class maybe, which is the difference in energy between the valence band and conduction band. So valence band and conduction band, and the difference in energy, that we call as energy band gap. Okay, so in terms of the energy band gap also we can represent these insulators, semiconductors and conductors. For the semiconductors, the energy band gap is not too large, but for insulators it is too large, and for conductors it is absent actually. Energy band gap is okay, is absent for conductors, and for insulators it is too large, say around 10 electron volt. Okay, so there is actually in energy band gap that is measured in electron volts, the energy needed, okay, to make an electron to come from the so-called as valence band into the conduction band. So that is the this energy band gap. For insulators it is too large, and for semiconductors it is in between, say around 1 electron volt. So it is very small, that's why easily from valence band the the electrons can go into the conduction band. So in the valence band the electrons are there, whereas in the conduction band there may be electrons, there may not be there. Okay, there may not be the electrons also. If the electrons are in plenty, then we say that the semiconductor has got the conducting nature, and if the electrons are not present in the conduction band, then we say that it is having the insulator nature. Okay, so semiconductors may have the insulating nature, may have the conducting nature, depending on the number of electrons found in the conduction band. In the conduction band, it is said that the electrons are free. Okay, they are free to move anywhere. Okay, so on the left side we have the third group elements: boron, aluminum, gallium, indium, helium, and in the right we have the fifth or pentavalent, so called as donor and acceptor atoms. Okay, respectively. Here we will look at why they are so called. These pentavalent elements are the nitrogen, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, and bismuth. So these elements are pentavalent, and because there is 5 electrons in its outermost orbit, whereas there is only 3 electrons in its outermost orbit, whereas in the fourth group we have the 4 electrons in the outermost orbit. Naturally occurring carbon is having the insulating nature, whereas the graphene, the under form of this carbon, that is having metal like characteristics. Okay, but here carbon is in semiconductor group, but it is in insulator. It is an insulator. Why? Okay, so this is a question over here. So question may be answered like that. It is having the 4 electrons in its outermost orbit. So different fourth group elements can be seen to have these electronic configurations. So carbon, silicon, and germanium. We can see 4 electrons in its outermost orbit, 4 electrons in its outermost orbit, and for germanium, if we look at this, then again the 4 electron in its outermost orbit, 4s2, 4p2. Okay, so these are the fourth group elements. The tetravalent and pentavalent elements, important elements, okay, gallium and arsenide, electronic configurations are also shown over here. Okay, so gallium is having 3 electrons in its outermost orbit, and arsenic is having 5 electrons in its outermost orbit. The electronic configurations we can see to be like this here for silicon, for germanium, and for say gallium. Okay, so these are just illustrative here. For different other elements also we can have similar kind of electronic configurations, and we can show where the electrons are located. So these 4 electrons which we can see in the silicon or in the germanium, they play an important role. Okay, so we will stop here. We will continue from here in the next lecture, and we will try to look at some more properties of the silicon, and if time allows, then we will see also how the energy band is formed in what are the number of electrons and what are other properties of the semiconductors. And to illustrate the case of the semiconductors, we may look at the silicon characteristics in much more detail because of its availability in nature and its cost and its good characteristics, which makes it a good choice to be used for the integrated circuits even now. Okay, so silicon is the preferred choice here, going to be preferred choice due to many of its characteristics, which we will discuss in the coming lectures. We shall stop here. Thank you. Please encourage others also to join the class, because less than 50% attendance is here, which is not acceptable at all. So being the first class, we shall stop here. We should expect more attendance in the next lecture. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, sir, many students are traveling to hostels, so might be this could be one of the reason.
For what reason?